So I thought it was very interesting to hear that there's this conversation going on again about, I don't know, basically hard work versus aptitude versus luck. I do know people who think that it's just literally about how hard you're willing to work. I just don't think that's right. Becoming a top player or really becoming one of the best at anything requires a mix of hard work and luck. And I think that luck includes natural aptitude, but it includes other stuff as well. It includes geography and the circumstances that you were raised under, and where you lived and when you lived, and what happened to happen to you in life. But I think it's unsatisfying to many people to say that. I feel like a big reason why narratives like, if you work hard you can become a top player, exist is that it's satisfying. It's satisfying to everybody in a way. It's satisfying to be a top player and think that you got there because you worked hard. Rather than to say that look, I lucked into a situation, lucky me, I just happened to get it for no reason. The universe is random and here I am. It's not very satisfying. It's more satisfying to say that you are the result of your choices. Your personal work is something that you can see every day. You know how much you've worked, you know how hard you worked, and it feels like it would be unsatisfying to discount that. And I think it's satisfying to players at lower levels too. It sort of provides you with this view of the world where the world is just achievable, and that's comforting in a way. Even if you are not a top player at the moment, you can still sort of tell yourself that that's pretty soon, that you'll get there, and there's a comfort in that. So I think that I think all of these myths that surround how it is that you become best at whatever, that have to do with work rather than luck, I think they're just primarily about people looking around and being like, why me? You know, why is it that I'm the best player in the world? So many people in the world. Pretty unlikely that it'd be me who's the best. Why is that? And so that you have a couple of things to tell yourself. I mean, maybe on the one hand, you are divinely appointed. Could be. People have used that excuse in the past. Doesn't seem like one people find satisfying nowadays. Much more satisfying, at least in how we think nowadays, is that you worked for it and nobody gave it to you. You did it! And congratulations. I think that's very satisfying. But I don't think it's right. I think that it's a myth people tell themselves that, you know, has the important effect of making them feel better. There's a perverse way in which telling yourself that you are the one responsible is not actually taking responsibility for why you are where you are. It instead kind of absolves yourself of the fact that you're not entirely the reason that you are where you are. It is to be less responsible to pretend that luck and aptitude and privilege and all that sort of stuff aren't involved. At the same time that I think that it's satisfying, I also think that it does a big disservice to people. Even to people who think that it makes them feel better. So if you're a top player and you want to believe that you did it yourself, there's a clear benefit to that, but at the same time, it devalues a bunch of what led to you being a top player, which is a disservice to you. It devalues the fact that you may have more dexterous control over your hands than most people, or it devalues the fact that you may have faster brain to hand response times than most people, or it devalues the fact that maybe your parents worked super hard to give you enough free leisure time to be able to develop the skills that led to you being a top player. I feel like it actually doesn't. It's not good for you, even though it may feel like it, to think that you are the one who led to all of your success. It devalues your skills, and it devalues all the things that led to you being here that were produced by other people intentionally, well, at least as far as they could, right? Luck plays a role. That they tried to do to put you into a spot where you could become whatever it is. It's quite harmful. To the person who gets up there and who thinks they don't need to study for the bar exam because they've aced every test they've ever taken, who cares? It's very harmful, actually, for me to have believed that I was just the best. That was bad, because it led me into a bad spot, right? And it's negative, I think, for people who are at lower levels too, who like the panacea of feeling like they can get up there, but may not have some of those innate things, or luck, or leisure time, or whatever it is that lead to you becoming a top fighting game player. And so it gives them false hope, which is a bummer. I think it's important to have hope, but I also think that it's important to be realistic at the same time. And there are some people for whom the dream is just probably not achievable. You don't know whether that's going to be you in most cases until you try it out. So like I said, I still think that there's a lot of value in trying your best. None of this is to say you should not. Again, you are somebody who has an impact on your life. You take control in a real sense, even though you are still adrift at sea. Those are both true. It also, I think, hurts the people who are at lower level because it gives them this feeling that the people who are successful are almost godly in the sense that they have managed to make such correct choices, right? So you end up looking up to the people who make these choices that lead to them being at the top because you think that that's why they're there, right? You view them as being so excellent at making choices that now you need to look up to them. What is it that they did that led to them being at the top? You begin to view them as gods, I think, in a even greater way than if you just recognize that they're lucky. And they made the most of their situation, right? Again, hard work still matters. But they're lucky. And I think that if you view them like that, you can view them as just people also. If something goes wrong, sometimes it's your fault, for sure. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're just thrown a curveball. And that's not something that you should be upset about. In the fighting game case in particular, I think that it kind of makes us devalue fighting games a little bit as like a competitive endeavor that we all like. If anybody can do it, implied in that is there's not a thing that makes you much more likely to do it, right? There's not a thing that is possessed by only some. Instead, it seems that implied in that is the idea that this is not actually that hard. And so it kind of goes against what I think some people like to talk about, which is that fighting games are hard and it's not easy to learn. It's not easy to get good at. I don't want to devalue fighting game competition. I think that I don't want to overstate it either, of course, but I want to be realistic about it. There are some things that it takes. You have to have hand control. You have to have reactions. You have to think quickly. You have to be able to adapt. Those are things that you can learn, but there are also things that some people start out doing better than others. And if you don't start out at a certain level, you're not going to get to the maximum either. James the Powerhead, in one way, in many situations, if you don't work hard enough, you won't know if you're among the lucky ones. That's right. I think luck is more often obvious in retrospect. People need to try to make the best of their situations. So when you're in the moment, try to do whatever it is that you can do, of course. It's not until, I think, in retrospect that the luck of things becomes more obvious. You can improve, of course, whatever starting level you're at, whatever natural aptitude you're at, whatever amount of time you have, whatever your circumstances are. You can improve, of course. Can you improve until you're one of the best is a different question. Again, do not take from this that you have no agency in life, that you can't work your hardest. Sure. But also luck's very important. So when it comes to becoming the absolute best, you have to have the confluence of everything. You have to have aptitude and time and be in the right place. And also work extremely hard. If you want to be the best, that's what it takes. Not easy. And so very few people do it, naturally. If it was easier, more people would do it. And there would be flatter tops of competitions, but it's not like that. That's not the real world.